Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Masters Experience series. Thank you so much for being early and for taking time to join us at this Lunch and Learn session. We are waiting for more people to sign in, so please bear with us. In the meantime, it's Friday and the weekend is just round the corner. I hope you're looking forward to the weekend as much as I do. So if you are ready with your lunch and a drink, perhaps maybe we can start our session very shortly. Please make yourselves comfortable. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Masters Experience series brought to you by HeadHunt in partnership with Lee Kong Chian School of Business, SMU. My name's Tammy and I'm your host for today. Broadcasting live, we have with us Ivan, who will open the session and introduce on Lee Kong Chian School of Business. Thereafter, Professor Shantanu Bhattacharya will open the session with the topic of uncovering the secrets of global innovation. Now, before I hand over the time to Ivan, please note that there is a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to type in your questions at any time during the presentation. Please also note that we will be conducting our feedback poll at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'll now pass the time to Ivan. Ivan, over to you, please.
Thank you, Tammy. Allow me to share my screen. A very good afternoon to everyone, and it's great to be here today at the HeadHunt Masters Experience event. My name is Ivan, and I'm with the Singapore Management University Postgraduate Office handling the Masters programs. So I'm going to start off this session a little bit to tell you a bit more about the offerings that we have under the suite of SMU Masters programs today. As introduction, I would just like to talk a little bit about SMU. And Singapore Management University was established in the year 2000 with a mission to generate leading-edge research with global impact and to also produce broad-based, creative, and entrepreneurial leaders for the knowledge-based economy. Presently, as the third public university in Singapore, we have over 9,500 undergraduate students with just over 2,800 postgraduate students as well. We also have a mix of 11 undergraduate programs with over 31 postgraduate programs, both in the master's as well as the PhD side. 388 full-time faculty, with over 39% of them being international faculty from over 26 different countries. Now, SMU actually has disciplines in the areas of business, accounting, economics, computing and information systems, social sciences, as well as law. And for a suite of postgraduate programs, we'd like you to know that most of our programs bring with it the global recognition, which means that there is the opportunity for you to have your degrees globally recognized. The way that we are bringing the learning to you through our interactive pedagogy, the way you learn and teach, continues to be done in a very interactive way with our world-renowned faculty, of whom you'll be hearing from a little later. And what you'll be learning, whether it's in accounting or business or other disciplines, you will know that you will be able to get innovative and learn through an innovative curriculum in terms of the topics, in terms of the cutting edge research that will be imparted to you. And with being part of an SMU community as a student, you'll be able to avail yourself of the networking as well as career opportunities as well in the university, helping you to land the career or the job that you aspire to. And all this happens in a beautiful city campus, right nestled in the Arts and Heritage Precinct, next to the Central Business District. So this is a little bit of an overview of the university itself. And I want to talk in the next couple of minutes a little bit more of our programs. So usually most postgraduate programs can be considered in two ways. There are the broad-based postgraduate programs that give you the ability to work across many different areas. And there are those that would actually give you the opportunity to deep dive into specific disciplines enabling you to gain expertise in specific functional areas. So to put things in a bit of perspective, we have the broad-based programs, which are our executive MBA, our MBA program, as well as the Master of Science in Management. And for our deep dive programs, what we would have here are the rest of the suites of what we would call more specialized type of master's programs. So if you look at the boxes in blue, we have the finance suites of programs in applied finance, wealth management, as well as quantitative finance. In specialized masters, we have a program in communications management, human capital leadership, as well as innovation. That is represented by the MCM, MHCL, as well as the MI. And in the non-business domain, we will have the two accounting programs that we have, which would be the Master of Professional Accounting and the Master of Science in Accounting in Data and Analytics. Not forgetting the one in Master of Information Technology in Business, which gives you a chance to be able to specialize in different tracks: artificial intelligence, financial technology, analytics, as well as digital transformation. And we come to the economics tracks program, where there are two different programs in the field of economics, in the MSE, the Master of Science in Economics, and the Master of Science in Financial Economics, which will be able to help you to get into the particular industry in finance. And last but not least, our law programs, the Juris Doctor, as well as the Master of Laws. The other way to look at our programs would be through whether it's pre-experience or post-experience. Again, these are the same programs, but obviously the pre-experience ones tend to be more suitable for someone who has very little working experience, or less than 2 years. And the post-experience programs tend to be more suitable for those probably in mid-career or have substantial working experience. So with that, I just wanted to share a snapshot of the different opportunities we have at SMU. And we've got 18 programs in total. And for today, we'll be actually talking a little bit more after the masterclass about the business programs. And with that, I'm happy to introduce to you our speaker for today, who is none other than Professor Shantanu Bhattacharya, who is the Deputy Dean of Programs as well as the Academic Director for a PhD in Business General Management. Prof. Shantanu is also the Lee Kong Chian Professor of Operations Management at the Lee Kong Chian School of Business. His research interests are in product development, supply chain management, closed-loop supply chain, as well as sustainability. So with that, I'd like to pass the session on to Prof. Shantanu, who will take you through unlocking the secrets of global innovation.
Thank you so much, Ivan. It's a pleasure to see about 40 of you on this session. Ivan and Danny, my colleagues, have given me a very simple brief. Try to make the program as showcasing what we actually do at SMU. So I will try to give you a feel. I know it's going to be hard on Zoom, but for about a year, we did classes on Zoom when we had the pandemic, and we've tried to maximize the interaction. I'll request you to play with me. Remember, if you join SMU, I remember things very well. I will give you points for class participation if you participate in the discussion that we have now. I will be talking about unlocking the secrets of global innovation, as Ivan just shared. The secrets of global innovation can be studied from many different perspectives. I will take 3 different lenses. 1, the lens of creativity. 2, the lens of organization. And 3, the lens of distributed innovation. Global innovation also means that we will have innovation teams in different locations globally. So how do we actually manage to get the different teams to work together seamlessly? These are the 3 themes that I will take a look at. Ivan has told you a lot about my research. My research is indeed in the area of creativity, innovation, new product development. My first question that I would like to ask of you is, in your opinion, is creativity natural or nurturing? Is creativity nature or nurture? Are people born creative or are people made creative by society? I would recommend that if you have an answer, please unmute yourselves and speak up. Or if you're very shy to unmute yourself, you can put your answer in the chat. I prefer that if you have an answer, you can just speak up. Okay. So I see that quite a few of you have answered. Rajendra, Amy, David. Choose. Who wants to open up about why? Rajendra, why nature? And then I'll ask Amy and David why both. Rajendra, why nature? Can you unmute yourself and speak up? Why do you think people are born creative, Rajendra? They cannot unmute. Okay. So there is evidence. Okay. There is evidence. Sorry. I didn't know that you cannot unmute. There is evidence that, in fact, people are born creative. Okay. So to some extent, this notion of creativity, okay, is something that we do have research from neurosciences. So the brains of creative individuals have a genetic difference compared to those of us who are not born with the name Steve Jobs. So those of us who are regular people, as you know, the brain is divided into two hemispheres. You've done this in high school. You have the left brain and the right brain. There is a fiber, a set of fibers called the corpus callosum that connect these two hemispheres of the brain. For creative individuals, the corpus callosum is not as well developed, resulting in some kind of independence of the two halves of the brain. Because the two halves of the brain are independent, creative individuals can typically make some kind of random thoughts, can have some kind of random thoughts that lead to creativity. So creativity, in fact, is nature. Those of us who have a well-developed corpus callosum, we are socially well adjusted, but we are not as creative. It's not a surprise that most people who are geniuses in terms of creativity have a lack of social skills compared to the average person. However, creativity, of course, is part of nature. It can also be enhanced by nurture. What I will show you is that there is extensive evidence that creativity, in fact, is blocked by nurture. Children are more creative than adults. Society, the way we think, the way we act, the way we do things, we actually end up making individuals less creative. If you take a 2-year-old, they're more creative than a 20-year-old. Who's more creative than a 50-year-old with gray hair? In a sample of 1,500 children in the ages of 3 to 5, 98% ranked as creative geniuses. What is creativity? Creativity at the end is the ability to do something differently. Creativity is divergent thinking, thinking differently from the herd. As people get older, as people get into the age group of 8 to 10, that figure fell to just 32%. What's happening? Why do children who are 3 to 5 rank as geniuses in divergent thinking? Those who are 8 to 10, only 32% of them, only 1 in 3, keep that ability to be creative. This is the way that society molds children. This is the way that society has molded us. When my son draws a small body, a cat's body, and an elephant's head on the cat's body, I immediately tell my son, hey, think of stability. How can such a big head be stable on such a small body? And my poor son says, Daddy, I was just thinking, why do cats have small bodies, elephants have large heads? Why can't we have a combination? No, that's not the way the world works. Look around you. Have you seen something like this? People will think you're crazy. And next time my poor son draws a big body and a small head, because he has been sanctioned by me, because I tell him that you cannot really have this kind of unstable structure. That is the minute that children start seeking approval from the environment. Children start saying, what will be successful creativity? And therein you have the secret to why is it so hard for corporates to be creative, especially larger corporates. There's a lot of research that says that small is good in terms of innovation. Large hampers innovation. Why is small good in terms of innovation? Because to be innovative, you cannot think about what will be successful. Innovation is about divergent thinking. That is why the most common innovation process globally today, design thinking, breaks up innovation into two different parts. The first part is ideate. Come up with wild ideas, come up with divergent ideas. Don't worry if these ideas are not successful. It does not matter. All you need to do is diverge, come up with creative ideas. Then you have a second stage where you try to screen those ideas and then see which of those ideas will be successful or not. Design thinking does this in a 5-step process called the double diamond. In the first diamond, you try to find out as many customer preferences as possible, which is why design thinking is also called user-led design. And then you prioritize, you converge after that, screen after that, saying that these are the customer preferences that we think are the most important. Then you have the ideation phase for ideas of solutions, where you diverge, be creative, and then you see which of these will be commercially successful, which basically says that the process of ideation and the process of screening for successful commercialization have to be different. What does society do to us? Society basically asks us to make it a one-step process. Think about what will be successful in terms of creativity, versus what nature says is that rather than trying to identify what will be successful, just think divergently. Just come up with new ideas. And then at a later stage, you can check. And then at a later stage, you can check whether it will be successful or not. Palem has a question which is very relevant. Could this be due to education that it stifles creativity? Palem, you couldn't be more correct. What do we do in terms of education? We check assessment. What do we do in terms of assessment? Very rarely on assessment tools like exams do we ask people to think with a blank canvas. For the most part, what we do is we have a set, as a teacher, we have a set of questions with answers that we think are correct. And then we tell the student, okay, now here's the question. Let's see your thought process in coming up with the answer that I think is correct. If the student misunderstands the question, or if the student has a different interpretation of the question, I as a teacher says, you idiot, that's not what the question says. Read the question again. Versus what I should be doing is I should be saying, that's a very interesting process you went through. The assumptions that you have are different. Given the assumptions that you made are different, your solution makes sense. So look for solution pathways rather than can they represent, can they regurgitate, can they recreate the answer that I was looking for. So Palem, bang on. I think that what you just said, okay, makes perfect sense. So indeed, what we do in terms of education results in a lack of creativity among our society members. What we see is, as adults, only 2%, only the Steve Jobs of the world. If you know, Steve Jobs was not exactly a good person. If you watch the movie Jobs, it had Ashton Kutcher in it. You will see that he was a difficult colleague to work with. He used to stand in the lift with colleagues at Apple and ask, what do you do at Apple? How do you justify your existence? Hey, who the hell are you? You're the CEO, agreed, but I have my own role to play, right? But Steve Jobs had that questioning, that experimenting, that observing part that most people, normal people like us, do not have. That is why he was able to successfully see what people would be able, he was able to think what people would be looking for. And then he had a screening process where he got customers in, look at different solutions, and then identify a good solution. So creativity, to summarize, is divergent thinking, just divergent thinking. Come up with different ideas. And then the screening of those ideas we leave to a later stage. That is the golden rule of creativity. Break up innovation into a two-stage process. First, come up with new ideas. Don't have the burden of thinking about the success of those ideas at the early stage. At the second stage, once I have wildly divergent ideas, some of which are the most stupid ideas possible, completely fine. Stupid ideas are also okay. The only idea that is really stupid is the one that is not shared. Come up with lots of different ideas, screen at a later stage. This is what we try to do. Okay. Kel has a good point. This is a problem in big MNCs. Most die over time due to lack of innovation. Kodak, what is the best way to overcome this and who has done well? Kel, you have an excellent point. In that, with Kodak, we actually know, do you know who created the world's first digital camera? The world's first digital camera was created in 1975 by Steve Sasson at Kodak. I didn't Google this, by the way. I know this because it's an example I talk of all the time. The world's first digital camera was created all the way back in 1975 by Steve Sasson at Kodak. Do you know what Kodak did with the digital camera that Steve Sasson created? They mothballed it, they put it in the basement. They said, we will not work on this idea right now. Why? Because Kodak was making money through their existing business model. They made a lot of money on film, but even more than the amount of money that they made on film, they made in terms of processing. Kodak used to have all these, they are more or less changed into these copy shops and personal assistant office shops right now. But at one point of time, every city had lots of Kodak photo processing units that were operated as franchises. You had local operators operating them. But effectively, what they would do is Kodak would sell film. Then you would, with your own camera, take pictures with that film. You would go to develop these rolls and print them at this photo processing unit. And Kodak was very smart. They would sell you the film for $3 for 36 shots. But they would charge you 50 cents for printing a small picture. I mean, give me a break. The variable cost of printing in terms of ink is literally marginally 10 cents. So 50 cents, the margin was 40 cents. Kodak used to make money using the film and the processing. With the digital camera, they said that we will mothball it. It's not so much a question of creativity. It's not seeing the future in this case, Kel. It's not seeing that if I don't do it, somebody else will do it. When competitors like Leica, Olympus all created the digital camera, at that stage, Kodak did come in with the digital camera, but Kodak had already began its decline. None of these players, Garmin created the first GPS. None of these players could see that eventually the mobile phone would give away these apps for free. I have a GPS that's free today. I have a camera that's free in my app today, in my phone today. So now the phone has replaced the camera, the phone has replaced GPS. All these devices are now included as prepaid apps within the phone. So indeed, next question that Kel asked is, how do we make sure that large organizations reinvent themselves? In a way, Kel, there are multiple ways of doing this. One of them is a way of creating intrapreneurial ventures, creating virtual startups within the organization, where you have a startup within the organization that has access to the resources of the organization, but acts as a startup. The other way is what 3M does. 3M is among the few large organizations that has a culture of innovation. 3M has metrics of innovation like your sales from products released in the last 2 or 3 years have to be 40 or 50% of the total revenues of your division. So by using metrics like that, by encouraging people to take risk, celebrating failure, 3M has created a culture of encouraging innovation. The next issue that I want to look at in terms of process is diversity. How do we engender creativity in innovation teams? One way to do it is diversity. Here I have different sets of ideas from homogeneous teams and diverse teams. There is a lot of lip service. There's a lot of lip service that is paid to diversity. However, diversity does not always result in better results. Take a look at the picture here. On the vertical axis, I have quality of ideas. The higher the quality of idea, the better. Blue represents the quality of ideas of homogeneous teams. Yellow represents the quality of ideas of diverse teams. What do you think is the output of homogeneous teams and the output of diverse teams? Can you compare the output? Just do it on the chat or on the Q&A. Can you compare the output of homogeneous teams and diverse teams? Which one does better? I'll come to your question in a minute, Rajinder. I'll first do the diversity part, and I'll come to your question. Rajinder says diverse teams. Kel says homogeneous teams. There's a bit of both. Indeed, if I take a look and compare the performance of homogeneous teams and diverse teams, I'm sorry, there's a small error in my slide. Let me just correct it and share it again. Okay. What we see is homogeneous teams on average have a higher quality compared to diverse teams. Take a look at the blue average. It's almost above the average quality. There's just 1 point below the average quality. Otherwise, homogeneous teams almost always have better quality ideas than the average. Diverse teams, on the other hand, have a lot of bad quality ideas and fewer good quality ideas. But Rajinder is also correct. In terms of innovation, what are we looking for? In terms of innovation, we are looking for the best quality idea. When you have a large number of ideas with a good screening process, you will always find that the best quality idea comes from the diverse team. Homogeneous team have a higher average and a lower standard deviation, more consistency compared to diverse teams. But diverse teams have a lower average, higher standard deviation. This variability, standard deviation, says that the probability of the best quality idea coming from the diverse team is almost 1. This is where innovation, creativity being a two-step process is very important. In terms of global innovation, if I have one shot at getting ideas right, I would rather operate with a homogeneous team. You take a look at the Japanese automobile companies. In terms of process innovation, they do really well because they have to do small innovations. So they just sort of get a homogeneous set of team together, typically engineers, typically male. And then, they come up with an idea very quickly that works. But if I take a look at Silicon Valley, probably the most diverse place in terms of ethnicity, background, education, and so on, Silicon Valley comes up with the radical ideas, the ones that are the 1 in a million ideas. Hence, what we see is if I compare homogeneous teams and diverse teams, I want to do something quickly. I have one shot at getting it right. I take a homogeneous team. Diverse teams have a lot of conflict. This conflict leads to more ideation, leads to divergence, leads to more creativity. But this conflict needs to be managed because diverse teams also can very quickly get dysfunctional because of this degree of divergence in terms of the ideas. Hence, what we see is if I have one shot at getting things right, in that case, I want homogeneous teams. But if I have the ability to have multiple ideas and then choose the best idea, okay, in that case, the homogeneous team, indeed, the diverse team, indeed works better. Okay. Now, Rajendra has asked a question. For a creative idea or approach to be accepted in the corporate setting, the upper management has to be receptive. I agree fully with you. Upper management indeed has to be receptive. And which is why what we need is the support of senior management. In all innovation studies, what we show is that unless upper management gives you the right, unless upper management creates the culture of risk-taking, you cannot really have an innovative setting. Innovation and risk-taking go synonymously, versus most individuals are risk-averse. How do you create this culture of risk-taking? In fact, is one of the biggest things that Google, 3M have been successful at. Jed has a good question. How do you measure the quality of ideas? Jed, that's an excellent question. In all these studies, the Pellet, Eisenhardt, and Jin study that I have here, the McLeod and Lowell study that I have here, almost all of them, they have external experts who are measuring. So basically some kind of audit of ideas, quality of ideas. So it's external experts, so that is why you can say that this is a neutral definition of quality. It can't be the team measuring its own ideas. You have an independent panel of experts in both studies who look at the output of homogeneous and diverse teams and then give some kind of rating. When you look at diversity, emotional conflict, of course, is driven by multiple forms of diversity, like ethnicity, like educational background, and so on. But in terms of functional background, typically we found that functional background, having marketing, manufacturing, design, engineering, finance, HR represented in a team, always works, not always, but usually works positively. So we find that functional background diversity works well, which is why cross-functional teams are used globally today. Cross-functional teams are almost always considered to be very, very good for innovation. At the organizational level, this comes back to many of the questions that you were asking earlier. Sorry, Rajendra had indeed raised a question earlier. Did I address that question, Rajendra? Senior management, yes, I've addressed. Next, in terms of organization, how do you make sure? So some of you asked this question, right? Why do large organizations basically fail? It so happens that large organizations fail because of structure, nothing else. This is called the S-curve. The S-curve is probably the most famous in terms of diffusion of new products. Almost all new products go through something like the S-curve, especially if they are successful. When the first mobile phone came out, when the first car came out, the sales were exceptionally low because you did not have the complementary assets in place. Cars needed the road networks, the highway networks to be built until the diffusion of cars really caught fire. Mobile phones needed the ability to have messaging, peripheral services, and other things before the ability to take wireless telephony beyond the landline became popular. So when a new product just comes out, cumulative sales on the y-axis, I have cumulative sales, on the x-axis I have time. Cumulative sales grow very slowly. This approach is called the probe and learn process. In the early phase of diffusion, okay, you typically find that there is a probe and learn approach. In the probe and learn approach, you very rarely get to a point where sales are very quick unless the product is very well advertised, unless the product is very well known. Typically at this phase, companies are trying out new things, competitors are trying out new things. At some stage, the dominant design emerges, which becomes the industry standard. The dominant design basically can be thought of as the design that all products from there on, they use this particular design. So for instance, the App Store being external is the dominant design for the smartphone sector. When the dominant design emerges, competition shifts to process features like cost, quality, and speed. At this stage, rapid growth phase, limits to improvement start appearing, maturity settles in. And then when the technology is mature, you will typically have a new product that disrupts the old product. So this is the next S-curve. On the first S-curve, when companies are coming up with probe and learn, they are much more risk-seeking. At this stage, they are prospectors. When maturity settles in, then the company moves from a risk-seeking mentality to a rent-seeking mentality. Risk to rent. First, you want to try out new things. You want to try out new ideas. When you're a defender, you want to make money. This is what causes the sort of, approach of Kodak that you had raised earlier. When you are a prospector, you're focusing on product innovation, features, breakthrough new products, creating an organic risk-taking culture, creating a control system where everybody shares the pie. When you become a defender, you're focusing more on efficiency, cost, process innovation. You're focusing more on making small changes to the dominant design, making product variations on existing things. The culture becomes bureaucratic, risk-averse, clear job descriptions. Hey, this is my job. Don't step into my turf. The control system focuses more on meeting targets. People start taking less risk. Prospector firms, this is what I was referring to earlier. For 3M, percentage of profits from products less than 2 years old, percentage of sales from products less than 2 years old should be at least 40-50% of the company's revenues or profits. Degree today's products lead to future opportunities. These are the risk-seeking metrics that prospectors use. When a prospector moves towards a defender, the most important metric changes. First, it becomes degree program fits the business strategy. Then it becomes the development program return on investment. Then, of course, the ROI stays as the most important for the defender. But the success failure rate, I want it to be maximized. The fit with the business strategy is the third most important metric. As you can see, you're moving from a more risk-seeking metrics set for prospectors to rent-seeking metric for prospects for defenders. So to come back to the question that you had raised earlier, innovative firms have to say, at the end, we were risk takers at one point of time. What happened to that risk-taking culture? When did we change from risk takers to rent seekers? This cultural aspect is what large firms have to do to stay innovative. Thanks so much for asking that question. I think that's a very important question. Finally, in terms of coordinating global innovation, in terms of distributed innovation, the best research finds that, in fact, there is no replacement of proximity, which is represented in communication networks. Proximity, as in physical proximity, project team effect, size of group, technology communications, layout of offices, all of these are very important elements of distributed innovation. But what is distributed innovation? When I have a hardware team sitting in Florida, a software team sitting in Bangalore, an engineering team sitting in Munich, a marketing team that sits in Rio de Janeiro. When I have global innovation teams who are distributed, what are some best practices in terms of coordinating their innovation approaches? Professor Tom Allen at MIT has done this particular research all his life, looking to coordinate the innovation of distributed teams globally. He first began by looking at communication patterns among design team members, among innovation team members, when they sit in a single location. What he found was very, very surprising. What he found was physical location is the primary determinant of communication in a design team. I'm a professor of operations. I won't tell you my age, but I have seen the world. I have been a professor for 25 years now. I have a colleague who sits next door to me, who is a lady professor of marketing, much younger than me. What this research says is, I am more likely to communicate with a professor of marketing who is sitting next door to me than I am to a professor of operations who is my age, my area, but sits something like 10 offices from me. I talk to those who are sitting close to me. I don't talk to those who are sitting far away from me. What this stream of research finds is that physical location is the primary determinant of coordination in a design team. You may ask the question, what about other things like being part of the same project team, being part of the same functional group, etc.? I'll come to that. This particular curve is known as the famous Allen curve. The Allen curve basically says, as the separation distance goes beyond 70 meters within the same building, the probability of communicating with someone becomes almost the same as the probability of communicating with someone from a different city. Communication in a design, in an innovation environment dies out very quickly as the separation distance gets larger and larger. This beats the very purpose of innovation being distributed, right? It beats the purpose of having a team in Florida, a team in Munich, a team in Bangalore, a team in Rio de Janeiro, because distances are very, very large. But indeed, other studies have replicated that location is the primary determinant of communication when you have distributed product innovation teams. The obvious question to ask is, what if I'm working with team members on a project or in the same department? It so turns out that if you have departmental affiliation or project affiliation, if you work on the same team, then the Allen curve moves to the right. What this basically says is that, yes, departmental affiliations, project team affiliations have an impact on communication. But surprisingly, I am still more likely to talk to somebody else who is sitting at a distance of 10 meters away from me and is not on my project team than I am to somebody who is in my department or in my project group who's sitting 70 meters away from me. The departmental effect, the project team effect, moderates the distance effect, but it does not replace it. Distance is still the dominant factor. Co-location is still the dominant factor. There's nothing like having a water cooler conversation, seeing somebody saying that, hey, I like your presentation. Yes, you want to talk about it. I have this new idea and so on. It's always easier to do this informally face-to-face compared to a formal meeting that's called at a departmental level or a project team level. I told you earlier that size makes a difference. Small is better indeed. As the size of group gets bigger, Allen also finds that the probability of weekly communication decays. Whaling has a very interesting question. Has working from home stifled innovation? Whaling, I'll take your question shortly when I talk about the impact of technology. I'll talk about the impact of technology shortly. So that's a very good question. We'll talk about work from home. Has it stifled creativity, stifled innovation? So Whaling, what Tom Allen found is, suppose I can communicate by email, phone, fax. So he's very old now, he's 81. Okay. I haven't seen research from him about Slack, about Teams, about Zoom, about electronic collaboration. But what Tom Allen found was, electronic communication by email, phone, fax is a function of probability of face-to-face communication. It's very, very surprising. Electronic communication can support informal face-to-face contact, cannot replace it. You need confidence team building with members. Electronic communication increases confidence, not forever. What Tom Allen found in MNCs is that MNCs typically have a quarterly meeting where everybody from that particular team, from Rio de Janeiro, from Florida, from Munich, from Bangalore, they all meet in one location. What Tom Allen found is that electronic communication grows up after the face-to-face meeting, then decays gradually. Then again, it goes up after the next face-to-face meeting. Again, it decays gradually. Again, it goes up after the next face-to-face meeting. Again, it decays gradually. So you get the picture. Face-to-face meetings increase communication electronically. What does this say in terms of Whaling's question? Whaling, what the research finds is, when I sit with you in person, when I'm standing in front of you in person, when you know me personally, you can see that if I'm very enthusiastic, I will say, yes, yes, brilliant idea, yes, yes, I jump up and down. That conveys information. Body language conveys information. Versus wailing, if you're my boss and you ask me, Shantanu, what do you think of this idea? You're my boss. I say, I think it's a very good idea, wailing. You immediately know, hey, look at Shantanu's personality. If he thinks it's a good idea, he would be jumping like a monkey up and down. When he's saying it in such a subdued fashion, I think it's a very good idea. Shantanu thinks it's a terrible idea, but he's not able to say it to you because you're his boss. Face-to-face meetings always have tacit information being exchanged, which is not as well exchanged. I understand with Zoom, with Teams, you are looking at me. At the same time, you are getting visual cues, sound cues, and so on. So yes, as you get to more and more bandwidth of information, as you can see the entire body language, the information gets richer. You are approaching the ability to share information face to face, but you're not able to recreate it. When you have a Zoom meeting the next time, check this out. Are you looking at the speaker or are you looking at the most good-looking person on the screen? You are looking at yourself. Usually, most people are looking at themselves for most of the Zoom meeting. When they have a Zoom meeting, they don't bother looking at the speaker. You miss a lot of visual cues by technology-supported communication. So the hard answer to your question, Wailing, is as you have more and more bandwidth of information exchange using Slack, Zoom, Teams, now we'll get to holographic communication where you'll actually be able to sort of, holographically move yourself to the location of the joint meeting. Okay, it will get still better. But all it does is technology supports you get closer and closer to face-to-face communication. You can never really replace face-to-face communication. The hard answer, Wailing, is yes, it has. Working from home has reduced creativity to some extent. Having better technology tools reduces that gap between having technology supported and face-to-face, but it does not eliminate it. You can never really eliminate that gap. Work from home, distance communication, it makes things better. Why do companies still have software teams in Bangalore and so on? It's a function of competence, cost. Munich people are very good in engineering. Florida people are very good in terms of design. Rio de Janeiro people are very good in terms of drawing marketing plans. So you take advantage of local competencies. You do things like this, have quarterly meetings, semi-annual meetings to have this face-to-face chats and so on. But you can never really replicate face-to-face. So then you try to take the best of both worlds rather than trying to move everybody from different places to one location. You try to work with them in their own locations. You try to sort of have advantages in terms of you do your work at 8 in the morning, give it to me at 5 in the evening. When I wake up, I'll pick it up and I'll move forward. So there are advantages to distributed innovation. But in terms of coordination, communication, working together, you cannot replace the world of face-to-face. What we find is this is a case of Dow Corning. Dow Corning got some land on a lake shore and they were thinking, what kind of office layout do we want? They thought of, this kind of structure where it's a long, thin building, everybody having access to the lakeshore view for serenity, for calming themselves down. And then they thought of having this kind of structure where everybody has individual offices and then they have a pantry, meeting room, lounge, common area. This particular design is known as the cave and commons design. Everybody has an individual office, a cave, and then there is a common area, a lounge where you have free coffee and so on, where everybody comes to meet. What Dow Corning found is that the structure to the left, this cave and commons approach, offices all around with a common meeting area in the middle, is good for D in R&D. It's good for commercialization. It's good for development. But for basic research, this kind of environment where everybody has access to a serene layout, to a lakeshore, for instance, okay, this kind of approach to the right works better for research, basic research. The one to the left works better for development, commercialization. Thank you so much. I'm coming close to the end of my time. So I would like to see if there are any more questions that I can take a look at. Okay, cannibalization, indeed, yes. Cannibalization was the issue that Kodak did not want to take up the digital camera itself. Any more questions before I pass my time over to Danny? Thanks so much. I thought that the session was very interactive. I thought that you had a lot of questions. I have about 2-3 more minutes, so I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have. No? Okay. Thank you so much. Been a pleasure. And I hope to see many of you on campus. I hope that you take a look at our programs closely. We'll catch up sometime face to face. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. We will now pass the time to Danny, who will introduce us more about the programs offered at Lee Kong Chian School of Business. Danny, over to you.
Thanks very much, Tammy. Thanks very much, Prof. Shantanu. So a very good afternoon to everyone. I hope Prof. Shantanu's class gave you an idea of SMU's role as a thought leader, not just in innovation, but also in graduate management education. I'm Danny, and I'm part of the admissions team here at SMU's Lee Kong Chian School of Business. And the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be sharing with you on the various master's programs offered by the School of Business. And I hope that it'll be helpful for you as you research a little bit more and explore your postgraduate aspirations. As Ivan has mentioned earlier on, SMU is a pretty young university. We've just come of age recently, celebrating our 22nd anniversary, but we have achieved quite a fair bit in our short history. We are the largest business school in Singapore today, and we were set up by the Ministry of Education in collaboration with the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, one of the top business schools in the world. We are an engaged city campus right in the heart of the city, and we have an extensive network of business connections in Singapore and beyond. Through industry engagement and collaboration, our students and graduates can actually expect to leverage on our network. And as a result of our connections with the business community at large, our students do see sterling employment records and employment outcomes annually. Now, the LKCSB, or Lee Kong Chian School of Business, since its inception, has aspirations to be a premier Asian business school. And we have since garnered a global recognition. The Triple Crown accreditation that you see on top on the first row is really awarded to just the top 1% of business schools globally. So this really is a testament to the rigor and the quality of education here at SMU. And you see that we are also ranked 12th amongst specialist universities in the QS rankings, which puts us in good company with universities, top institutions such as the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland and London School of Economics. Now, while we are known for our practical approach towards business management education, we are also extremely strong in our research output, ranking second in Asia and first in Singapore in the UT Dallas research rankings. Our programs specific to the Lee Kong Chian School of Business has also done really well, bearing in mind that these are pretty much young programs and we are a very young school to begin with. And we rank in the top 50, top 30 consistently every year. The EMBA is ranked 22nd globally and 7th globally for alumni salary increase in the FT rankings of 2020. The SMU MBA program is ranked 10th in Asia. The Masters of Science in Wealth Management program is actually ranked first amongst all post-experience finance masters in Asia. The MAF, Masters of Science in Applied Finance, is ranked 5th in Asia. So for a fairly young university, I would like to say, we've really come a long way. And here is an overview of the programs that we have here at Lee Kong Chian School of Business, and we generally group them into what we refer to as suites. The top row here would really be the MBA or Management Suite of programs. In the second row would be the Masters in Finance, and finally, in the last row, it would be the Specialized Masters. I'll share a little bit more and give an overview of these Masters programs that we have here later on in the session. In our classes, we really look to curate a very different classroom experience, focusing on interactive peer-to-peer learning in smaller class sizes with a diverse class cohort. This is especially important for a postgraduate program where much of the learning comes not just from the course instructor, but also from your classmates who come from various backgrounds in terms of their industries, in terms of their functions, in terms of their market expertise, or nationality. This really adds to the learning experience and the learning outcome of our graduates. Action-based learning is featured very strongly in all our programs. We really focus on real-world issues as well as application. This allows our students really to contextualize their learning, and we do so through action-based learning such as internships, capstone projects, new venture creation project, strategic initiative project, and the like. So students are therefore continuously engaged with industry while they are still pursuing their programs with us, be it on a full-time basis or on a part-time basis. Our programs are focused on providing students with Asian insights and global perspectives, and this is really shown in the curriculum where the case studies that are being taught in class are actually written by our case writing institution, the Center for Management Practice. These cases are produced by in-house case writers along with our faculty members. And in fact, one of our very recent cases written on the Ant Group won in the Financial Times Responsible Business Education Award. And on this slide here, you can see some of the other organizations that we have written case studies about, and you can expect to learn about these case studies in the program. And you can see that it spans across various industries and of course, business disciplines as well. Now, this contextualized learning and curriculum is especially important if you are looking to establish your career or your business in Asia. But of course, we are training our graduates to be global leaders. In fact, some of our more senior students already are, and you can definitely expect global exposure in our master's programs. There are overseas components in many of our programs, and these could be through business study missions, case study overseas competitions, or the traditional exchanges or prescribed overseas segments. For exchanges and segments, we collaborate with some of the most prestigious institutions overseas, partners such as Wharton School, Yale, Peking University, Imperial College, Chulalongkorn, Seoul National University, just to name a few. Now, our management suite or MBA suite has 3 masters meant for candidates who are looking to grow beyond their function or to break away from being a specialist to take on business or strategic roles in their organizations or in their careers. A key differentiator between these 3, from one management masters to the next, is really in terms of the cohort's work experience as well as management experience. As mentioned before, peer-to-peer learning is a key focus and very instrumental to the learning outcome in the postgraduate program. First up, we have the MSc in Management, or the MIM, which is a full-time program of 18 months, catering to candidates with little or no work experience prior to joining the program. Candidates, while they are going through the program, can take on either an internship or a consulting practicum. And the MIM or the MIM really helps fresh graduates gain an edge over their peers and help them make a successful start or launch to their careers through the action-based learning, the internship, or the practicum. There is on offer as well the blended Masters of Science in Management, the blended MIM, which also caters to fresh graduates. And in this case, students up to about 4 years of working experience. And this program is unique in the way that it's conducted, where it's conducted in a blend of online segments as well as face-to-face on-campus classes. This therefore allows fresh graduates or young working professionals to continue to develop their careers while pursuing a master's with little downtime or interruption. The next intake for both the MSc in Management program and the blended MSc in Management program would be in August this year. Next up, the MBA is the flagship of most business schools, and it caters to mid-career professionals averaging 6 years of working experience. Now, here at SMU, there are 2 modes of study for the MBA program, full-time and part-time, with internships, with new venture creation project and management study modules on offer as the action-based learning aspect of the MBA. The full-time intake lasts for 10 months up to 15 months. There's a fair amount of flexibility for that. And similarly, for the part-time mode of study for the MBA, it spans 15 to 18 months, and you can be quite flexible in how you want to complete the program in terms of the electives that you choose. The part-time intake would be starting in August each year, and the full-time intake starts in January 2023. Now, finally, on this table, the most senior, not just in years, but also in terms of the leadership or management experience, are our Executive MBA participants, or EMBA. EMBA participants are required to have a minimum 10 years of work experience before joining the program, and many of them are in leadership or management positions. As an illustration of the kind of profile that would be a good fit for the SMU EMBA program, about 70% of our cohorts is actually in positions of heads of business units at a director level or even at the C level. The program spans 12 months, broken into modular segments of just about a week each across 2 calendar years. Unique to the SMU EMBA program are the 3 prescribed overseas segments, one in the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Another segment would be at the Sassoon School of Management, which is one of the top business schools in Thailand, set up by Chulalongkorn University, along with Kellogg School of Management. And finally, Shanghai Jiao Tong University. The next intake for our SMU Executive MBA program would be in August this year. As the management masters are really meant to broaden one's business knowledge and management skills, as Ivan pointed out earlier on, our graduates typically break away from functional or even technical roles to assume business-oriented or strategic responsibilities in their organizations or in their next career. Therefore, as you see from this slide, the career outcome of our graduates are also very varied and reflects the diverse interests of our applicants, our candidates, our graduates, and correspondingly their aspirations as well. The next suite of programs that I'll speak a little bit more on would be the Finance Masters, designed for candidates who are interested in finance as a function professionally, or for those who are looking at exploring roles in the financial services industry. First off, the MSc in Applied Finance, or MAF for short, has full-time and part-time options, with full-time being a 12-month-long program duration plus internship, or 20 months if you are planning to embark the program on a part-time basis. The MAF allows candidates with little to no work experience to gain the necessary fundamental skills in finance, with a focus on the application of principles as well as theories to real-world business needs. Students will be exposed to a wide range of subjects such as corporate finance, equity, portfolio management, so on and so forth. And this program is really designed and structured to meet the requirements of the CFA certification. Students can also, while they are in the program, opt to specialize in fund management, fintech, or in real estate. The next intake for the MAF program would also be in August this year. Next would be the MSc in Quantitative Finance, or MQF, which is designed to produce quantitative finance professionals who are looking to apply programming skills as well as quantitative methods to address problems or issues in traditional finance. This could be in terms of risk management, algorithmic trading, portfolio management, and the likes. The program is 12 months for the full-time mode of study and 24 months for the part-time mode of study. 2 tracks are available for the MQF program. The SMU track, where you would complete the entire program on SMU campus, or you can opt for the international track, where you complete part of the program with one of our partner universities based business school. So further specialization is also possible in financial data science, algorithmic trading, and risk analytics. And the next intake for the MQF program would also be in August this year. The last Masters of Finance on offer by the Lee Kong Chian School of Business would be the MSc in Wealth Management, or MWM program. Now, this program is actually ranked first in Asia for post-experience Masters of Finance in the Financial Times ranking. So the program really focuses on a very specialized curriculum in global wealth management, but with an Asian focus. It aims to equip graduates with the skills to manage investment returns and risks for both individual as well as institutional clients. The program is a 12-month-long program conducted across 5 study blocks with segments conducted in our partner universities, which are Yale in the US, as well as the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland. Our participants will also have the opportunity to embark on 2 internship blocks of 10 weeks each, which, as you can imagine, will be extremely helpful for candidates who are looking to assume front office roles in finance. Our graduates from the finance masters, as you can imagine, take on a variety of roles such as fund management, financial analysis, private banking, and the likes in a number of financial institutions. And these 3 masters are really designed to train the next leading generation of finance professionals in Asia. Now, the final suite of programs that I'll speak a little bit on would be the specialized masters. First, in the table, we have the Masters of Human Capital Leadership, or MHCL for short, which is designed to train our students to go beyond the basics of HR or human resource management and to equip them with the necessary strategic knowledge to address business challenges or issues in human capital and from a human capital perspective. The program has 2 modes of study. The part-time intake starts in August each year and lasts for 15 months. And the full-time intake starts in January each year, and the program duration would be 12 months. Both part-time and full-time students will also have a 1-week international residency or an overseas segment at Cornell, and will also have the opportunity to embark on either an internship or a capstone project during their candidature period. Next, we have the MSc in Innovation program, or MI, which is designed to address the need for innovation as well as business creation, especially in Asia. The program equips our graduates with the knowledge and competency to tackle innovation challenges and to create new value in businesses as well as in society. Similar to the MHCL program, there are 2 modes of study, part-time and full-time. Part-time starts in August as well, 15 months long. Full-time, it's in January intake and lasts for 12 months. Now, for the MI program, the students, full-time and part-time, will attend their residency, their overseas segment at Babson College, which is one of the world's foremost entrepreneurial education institutions. Finally, we have the MSc in Communications Management program, or MCM, which is actually Southeast Asia's first master's program that's focused on communications management. It is really designed to develop leaders in strategic communications and to equip graduates with the necessary business acumen to play a strategic communications role in their organizations or in their industry. 2 modes of study is also on offer for the MCM program, with a part-time intake lasting 15 months and starting in August each year, and for the full-time intake being a 12-month program, and it's also a January start for our full-time students for the MCM. Similar to the other specialized masters and overseas segments where the part-time students and full-time students would attend their international residency, and in this case for the MCM, it would be at Northwestern University in Illinois. Graduates from our specialized masters have taken on roles in a wide variety of industries. But of course, their function is really specific to the master's program that they graduated from. And that really is a unique selling point of a specialized master's, right? You gain core technical specialized skills. From this slide, you can imagine that change management, being an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, typically these students are from the MSc in Innovation program, roles in public relations, branding, marketing, business development, typically see students from the MSc in Communications Management program, and HR manager, people manager would really be from our Masters of Human Capital Leadership program. In terms of the admissions, as well as the application requirement, we really are looking for candidates who have shown leadership experience, but also leadership potential. And much of the admissions decision is a question of fit. Now, fit in terms of how the program may be aligned to your postgraduate career aspirations, and also fit in terms of how you'd be able to contribute to the class based on the previous experiences. It is a fairly straightforward online application process, and you need only to submit the documents listed on this slide for a preliminary round of review through our online application portal. There are scholarships and discounts as well as grants available, and these are based on both merit as well as need. And the scholarships typically would amount up to about 30% of tuition fees, and the alumni grants or referral grants or discounts are usually at 10% of the tuition fees. Now, with that, I've come to the end of my sharing. I hope that it provided a helpful overview of our master's programs here at the Lee Kong Chian School of Business, SMU. And to find out more, I would really encourage you to engage with us by sending us your CV, by contacting us through the email listed on this slide. So with that, I'll hand our time over to Ivan or Jamie. I see that Prof. Shantanu has got his camera on for a while. So both Prof. Shantanu and myself would also be very happy to answer any questions on the programs that are on offer, as well as if you are interested to find out a bit more about the academic side of things, Prof. Shantanu would be definitely able to kind of help you with your queries.
Elizabeth has a question. How big is the library in SMU? Elizabeth, big library. It's one whole building. It's hard to measure the amount of square feet space, but I would guess at least in the range of 50 to 60,000 square feet. Okay, so it's about 5 floors of a proper university building. But to me, the bigger question today is that almost all resources are available electronically. apart from a few books, I mean, we have both Kindle subscriptions as well as the proper hard copy books. But in terms of electronic subscriptions and physical resources, okay, we have a lot. Thank you so much. 8,800 square meters works at about 90,000 square feet. Okay, so even bigger than I had estimated, and we have all resources. So I think, you know, any resource that you need, Elizabeth, that the library may not have in rare cases, we are part of the interlibrary loaning system where we get resources for you within a week. Okay, so if you don't find a resource within SMU that you're looking for, just let the librarian know. It will be yours. It always will be yours within a week. Okay, so we'll source it from wherever we need it and get it to you. So in terms of research support and so on for students, it's very good. The library has lots of resources, professional resources. The one catch that I would sort of mention is that, of course, we are a business management university, right? It's Singapore Management University. So if you are looking at researching medical or engineering journals in some cases, we will still get that for you. The interlibrary resource is still available for you. It just may take some more time. Anything related to management, you should see it in the library. You should see it in zero lead time. Kel has a question. Is the MSc more value for money as compared to an MBA? Kel, it depends on the area in general. I mean, these are all sort of my own individual opinions. I don't have data to back this up in a hard way, but I'll give you my own thoughts. Okay. What I have seen is that, let's say the MSc in quantitative finance, that is something that a lot of organizations, especially with fintech growing so quickly in banks, a lot of organizations like financial institutions are looking very, very closely at our masters in quantitative finance, masters in applied finance. So MSc, these are the MSc programs, MSc in applied finance, MSc in quantitative finance, and so on. So the value for money part, it really depends on the industry scenario. I'll say this, see, there are sort of things that are very popular. Today, anything to do with fintech is very popular. Anything to do with technology is very popular. We represent SMU, not just the business school, right? So I would say that, you know, the MITB is very, very popular again for that same reason. But a degree offers to you both some kind of knowledge and some kind of career for the long term. The question that I would look at, Kel, to answer this sort of dichotomy that looking at is, do you want to build a career in finance? If you want to build a career in a specialized field, in that case, indeed, the MITB in the School of Computing and Information Systems, Masters of Information Technology and Business, okay, is very, very useful. The MSc in Applied Finance, MSc in Quantitative Finance are very useful. We have the Masters of MSc in Financial Economics from the School of Economics. We have the Masters in Professional Accounting, the Masters in Accounting from the School of Accounting. So it depends on the area. The specialized masters are very good in terms of getting functional leadership roles. Versus Kel, the MBA, the EMBA, the MSc in management, these are more general management degrees. So it really depends. If you want to be the head of a product line, or if you want to go all the way to the CEO level, then the general management degrees like the MBA, EMBA, MSc in management, these degrees are more useful. Versus if you want to have a leadership role in a functional field, in financial economics, in accounting, in applied finance, in quant finance, in that case, these MSc degrees are more appealing. I would say that the value for money, we rank pretty highly. The sort of standard yardstick that I have, let's take the MSc in wealth management, which is very specialized towards wealth management. It's ranked number 3 in the world. And it traditionally has been ranked very highly in terms of value for money. But the MBA and the EMBA, our MBA is a top 50 program. Our EMBA is ranked number 28 this year, 22 last year. Surprisingly, I think Ivan and Danny shared with you that we were spawned by Wharton. Just, you know, Singapore has this wisdom, which I think is very correct. You want to set up a top class university in engineering, have an MIT, mentor it to become SUTD. You want to set up a top-class business university, have Wharton mentor SMU. This year, we beat Wharton in the EMBA rankings. We beat our mentor. Okay, so that's good news. I'm not saying we'll do it consistently. I'm not saying that we're going to beat Wharton all the time. But for a 20-year-old university, we punch way above our weight. The value for money is definitely there. I would recommend that you look more at career options when you're looking at choices. Thanks. Other questions, please. Are we good? We've piqued your interest in SMU. Danny and his colleagues are always available to talk to you about all issues with reference to postgraduate admissions. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Ivan?
Yes, Tammy.
Tammy?
Yes, maybe I could
yes.
wrap up the session. Great. Just allow me to share a screen one more time to wrap this up. Thank you again for coming to attend the masterclass session that we have today by Prof. Shantanu on unlocking the secrets of global innovation. And I hope that you have also had the opportunity to learn more about our programs from our Lee Kuan Yew School of Business, the 9 postgraduate programs that we offer. And as Prof. Shantanu had alluded to as well, we do have a suite of over 18 postgraduate programs that will be made available to you. And to find out a little bit more about this, I would encourage you to attend an event that we are having on the 19th to the 24th of February called Master's Day. So it is really a postgraduate open house that's held in conjunction with the SMU open house during this period of time. So it's an online as well as on-campus event as well. So you get to kind of visit beautiful city campus at the same time. And you'll be able to have, a chat with our admission advisors to be able to participate in our live webinars with faculty as well as alumni and attend program information sessions across this time period. So sign up today. It's complimentary. The QR code's there for you to scan, or you could register at smu.sg Masters Day. So the information is there, and we really hope to be able to see you at this event to learn more about SMU. And with that, these are contact details. If you need to reach out to us, I believe some of it is already in the chat itself, but do visit us for more information and details, or connect with any of us online today. And we'll be very happy to share more about the opportunities through our postgraduate programs with you at SMU. And thank you once again for that time, and I'll hand it back to Tammy to close.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Danny, as well as Prof. Shantanu for your time today. We trust you've enjoyed today's session, and we'll now invite you to participate in our feedback poll. Please give us your honest feedback so that we can further improve on this Master's Experience series. The feedback poll should be popping up on your screen, so please take a few moments to share with us your observations. We just wait for a few more seconds for more responses to be completed. Thank you so much for your feedback and for joining us today. This Masters Experience series is proudly brought to you by HeadHunt in partnership with Lee Kong Chian School of Business, SMU. Please join us at our next session next Tuesday on 25th of January on the topic of Understanding REITs and Looking to the Future, brought to you by NUS Business School. Please register early on our website postgrad.sg. With that, we will end today's session. This is Tammy signing off. Bye.